Good afternoon, curling fans. We are back in Curling Club Etikon for the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament. And what a lovely Friday afternoon treat we have for you. Returning to our competition, always strong supporters of the competition here, but not able to travel last year. We are delighted to welcome back our friends from Curling Scotland. They will be in our featured game. This is me, featured. Hello. I'm Lorna Rettig, and I will be guiding us through our featured game on sheet 3 here in Curling Club Etikon. We have our guests from Scotland. They will be up against a team from Curling Club St Gallen. St Gallen, they've hosted a few big things, a few Europeans, a few big internationals, and the team from the club from St Gallen, they have won the Swiss Championship in wheelchair curling a few times. Both teams winning their game this morning. So this will be a tasty encounter. The St Gallen team fairly used to this level of competition as well. Plenty of experience in that team. We will be saying hello to them just shortly. And a mixture of experience and some rising stars in the Scotland team. But Scotland, always one of the heavyweights in world curling. And that a fixture that all the teams will always take seriously. Scotland ranked number 8 in the world at the moment. They will be looking for a strong performance here this weekend. But the quality of the wheelchair game getting better and better every year. There really are no easy games out there. We saw a couple of interesting games already this morning. Team Scotland, they were playing the second Swiss team. And it was the Swiss who jumped out to a bright start with a big score of 3. But Scotland didn't panic. They kept the pressure on. And finally, they were the victors, 7 points to 4. And St Gallen, what a game they had. They were playing the Italian national team. In the 6th end viewer, the Italians had a difficult shot, certainly, but the Italians had a shot to make 8 points. Can you believe it? And they didn't make 8, they made 2. And then St Gallen, they ended up winning the game. So that was very topsy-turvy kind of a game they had this morning. But it was St Gallen with a huge win over the Italian team, coming out victors. So they triumphed finally 7 points to 6. And it is they who play our visitors from Scotland. So plenty of experience out there in both teams. And let's see who else is out on the ice in the second round of the international competition in Etikon on rink 1. An all-international affair. It is Team Slovakia, last year's winners. And they're playing Team Poland, who had a strong start against the home team from Club Etikon here. On rink 2, we have another team from Italy, Team Albatross Trentino. Of course, they had a great start this morning. They beat the Swiss first team 11 points to 2, and they are taking on Team Korea, who also won this morning. They overcame Team England 8 points to 1, so that's them on rink 2. On rink 3, we are going to watch Team Scotland playing the team from Curling Club St Gallen. On rink 4, we have Team Italy I wonder if they're still thinking about that shot for a full house of 8 points. Incredibly unusual. And they are playing the home team here from Curling Club Vetsikon. On rink 5, we have the Swiss first team playing team from England. This is the first time, I think, that we've had, or the first time in a long time, that we've had a wheelchair team from England. They are all coming under the British curling umbrella, and we're delighted to see teams from Scotland and England. And finally, on rink 6, we have Team Wagami, which they are not from Japan or Asia Pac, as it maybe sounds like. They are from different clubs in the US, and delighted to have team from North America visiting as well. And they are playing the second Team Switzerland. So we have, again, 6 exciting games on a nice Friday afternoon. The organising committee have done a very good job of organising some nice weather for our visitors as well. It's always a really good weekend here in Vetsikon. Just up the hill a bit from Zurich is our closest city. Very close to the airport, and the hotel's right across the street. You're very well looked after by our landlady in the club, and that's what makes this a really fun competition for all the players. It is St Gallen who have last shot in this first end. And it is St Gallen who are currently lying 2 shots. St Gallen will be playing Yellowstones, and conveniently, Scotland with their blue uniforms are happily playing blue. That can get confusing. The team from St Gallen, they've won this competition before. And they know how to do it. That's a nice throw from Scotland, just neutralising at least one St Gallen counter. You can see in the background, you'll see them sprinkled all over the ice rink. We have our yellow jacketed volunteers. And that just helps keep the game moving. We have a little bit extra time. We have 2 hours, 15 minutes on the clock for a full wheelchair game. We play 8 ends. And at this stage, it's still the rounds. It is possible to draw a game, so no extra ends at the moment at this stage. We have 5 rounds. We're in round number 2. And then we will have the ranking games for the winners. We say a big thank you to our little yellow volunteers out on the ice. It's a lot of work, viewer, I tell you. They are doing several things at once, the volunteers. The folks at the throwing end, they are making sure they're positioning the stone in front of the thrower. There, you can see that on your picture. So there's our little volunteer in yellow on the left. And she cleans the stone. You can see the cloth in her hand. So she just cleans the stone and puts it in front of the player just to keep things moving along. And that is a lot of up and down squats, I must say. If you're, there you go, see her leaning over there. Do that for 16 stones for 8 ends, and gosh, you really feel your legs and arms the next day. And then up at the other end, we also have a little yellow volunteer, and they are managing the stones at the house. So if stones are knocked out of play, again, they just make sure they're taken out of play, put to the back of the sheet, make sure they're not in anyone's way. And again, that just keeps things moving. Typically, a little bit of extra time needed if you're a wheelie user, just to position yourself on the ice and move around on the ice. And just helps to have the volunteers just keep the game flowing. bright start from St Gallen. It is still they who are lying short here. And now they have a guard out front, but we can see that certainly space to get a stone in front of that yellow behind T-line, the horizontal line in the middle. You can see very classic setup of preparing for the throw there. You can see the throwers got their brakes on, and then they have their delivery stick. It has a little device just at the end there, you can see, and that's how you put the handle on as you're releasing. You pushing forward with the stick and then putting a turn on it, and that little hinge at the top of your delivery stick, that's where you put the handle on. And you could also see your teammate behind, just holding on to your wheels. If you're pushing the stone at weight, you don't want to slip. And then typically your third teammate at the throwing end, she or he will have the stopwatch. They'll just be keeping an eye on the time. How long does it take for a stone to get as far as the tee line? How long does it take for a stone to get to front of house, for a guard, and so on? And they'll just be keeping an eye on that. The whole team will be interested in those times. And that just gives you an overall idea of how fast the ice is playing. And Danny Schreif, our ice master, we have fantastic ice here in Betsicon. That's the main reason, really, that everybody enjoys playing here, is because the ice is super. And I'm sure Danny Schreif will have made lovely, fast, curly ice for our visitors. That's the way championship ice goes these days. Typically very fast. You don't have to push a stone very hard anymore. Not like in the 1980s when you took a bit of a run at it. And very curly as well. And you can also see, viewer, that another one of the differences between wheelie curling and foot curling, as you call it in German, Fußgänger or Rolli. So that literally translates to someone who plays on their feet, or someone who plays in the chair. So they do have brushes, the wheelchair players, for aiming at, but of course they deliver with the delivery stick, and they don't have any sweepers. And you can imagine that makes the degree of difficulty for each shot just a bit harder. When you have your two teammates ready to sweep, if you make a little mistake, if you maybe don't push it quite hard enough, or you maybe could do with not curling a bit or curling a bit more, your teammates are there to sweep to help the stone find a good path. But as you can see in the wheelchair game, the most obvious difference is no sweeping. And that just makes each shot a little harder. You have to get it right first time. No adjustment possible. That's another important difference. So if you're a foot player, all of our power for a shot comes from the leg drive. And if you're using upper body strength only, and I know most of these people are, of course, very strong in the upper body, but still, if you're using upper body strength for those big hits, if you're throwing a lot of stones at weight, that can get quite tiring. And depends, of course, if you have full mobility in upper body as well. Not all of the players would have full mobility. So it just makes it a bit harder. First throw of the game for the St Gallen skip. They will definitely want to have a bright start with the last stone advantage in our featured game here. I think they call, yeah, just a gentle weight, kind of T-line sort of weight. Maybe trying to just bump that front one in. Oh, and he hasn't. Oh, he's got away with it though. That bumping his own stone out, but moving itself conveniently one stone closer to the middle. As you can see, though, that's a great angle. You can see almost all of that yellow. Scotland confident they can remove that yellow from play, it looks like. Scotland's objective in this first end, just to keep things tidy. We're right at the beginning of the game. Nobody needs to play too aggressively at the moment. And Scotland, they will just be happy to prevent St Gallen team from scoring 2 points. And we'll talk about why that's important. That's particularly important. We'll talk about that later on. But a nice controlled weight from Scotland, not too heavy. Gives it a chance to just curl a little bit at the end. He does remove that yellow. Thank you, Paul, our volunteer at that end. Just tidying the stones out of everybody's way. And that is job done for Scotland in this first end. They do have that blue counter hanging on towards the back of the house there, just to put a little bit of pressure on the St Gallen throw. But objective met for Scotland. They will be happy that the St Gallen team did not have a chance to score more than 1 point with their one last stone. Final throw then of this first end in our featured game. Deep breath. It's on its way. Looks like the call was the same as the first stone. I think just trying to use one of those yellows out front and just push it in. Sometimes that can be an easier call, but ooh, I don't think he has corrected that one though. And there isn't a convenient stone to catch it this time. So that was a missed opportunity for St Gallen. They will be a bit frustrated with that, but that's job done for the team from Scotland. They will be very pleased to have put some pressure on St Gallen in that first end, and their reward is that they have stolen 1 point. And that means that in our featured game here at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament in Curling Club Vetsikon, it is the visiting team from Scotland. They lead St Gallen 1-0. If you're just joining us, you come at a good time. It is the second round here in Curling Club Vetsikon. It's the 16th edition of the International Wheelchair Curling Tournament. And we are delighted to welcome back one of our biggest supporters of the competition. It's Team Scotland. They are taking on previous winners of this competition. The team from Curling Club St Gallen. And it was a steal of 1 point to Scotland in the first end. They will start us off in the second end. Let's say hello to the teams that are playing out there today. We have a mix of experience and new faces in Team Scotland. Throwing lead, with her stone landing exactly where she wants it to, is Charlotte McKenna. She's played for about 10 years now. She's played in the World Wheelchair Championship in 2020. Oh no, wait, she was selected for World Championship in 2020, but that's the year that we didn't have World Championship, sadly. Due to COVID, everything got cancelled. So I'm sure she will be looking for that opportunity again. But the experienced player at lead. At second for Scotland, we have Keith Gray, a new player. Just played for a couple of years. Third, we have Gary Smith, also fairly experienced. And fourth and skip, it is a very experienced name, Gregor Ewan. He's been to Paralympic representing Great Britain. And he's played for over 15 years. Actually, I think the lineup may have changed from the declared lineup. It looks like we have the alternate, Austin McKenzie, also a new face in Team Scotland. It looks like he may be playing this game. I will figure that out, viewer. But good to see Scotland and a team from England. We have a team from England here, I think, for the first time. So good to see British curling really working hard to bring new faces into the game. And throwing yellow today against them, it is the team from St Gallen. And throwing first, that is Evald Banvard, pardon me. Throwing second, it is Christine Betschart. Throwing third is Ivo Hassler. And fourth and skip is Burkhard Müller. Plenty of experience in that team. As I said, Club St Gallen, they've won this competition. I think it was 3 years ago. And several of the team have been Swiss champion in the past. Burkhard, interestingly, in your picture there, he also qualifies for Germany, so he spent a couple of years playing with Deutschland wheelchair curling. All that making for a close game, I think we will see. St Gallen team really hanging tough against the Italians. The Italians having a shot to make the magical 8 points. A difficult shot, as you can imagine. If you're going for 8 points, there are quite a lot of stones out there. And a shot to make 8, never easy. But from staring an 8 in the face, and Team Italy couldn't quite pull it off, picking up 2 finally. St Gallen came back with a 2 of their own and then stole the final end. So rather against what we might have expected. It was St Gallen coming out top against Team Italy this morning. And in their game this morning, Scotland were playing the second Switzerland team. And they had a very steady performance. Didn't panic after a good start from the Swiss, and it was Scotland winning 7-4. And things looking pretty nice for Scotland in this second end here of our featured game. They have a bunch of blue counters hanging around. But don't worry, if you're a Swiss fan, a St Gallen fan, important from your perspective is that the game's still pretty open, or this end is still pretty open. No guards in play, and still lots of space to get stones in the house. And this one is coming in a bit hot. That is not going to hang around. But Scotland in a nice position this end. So that's okay to have a bit of a misfire when you're in quite a good position anyway. Let's get all of our mistakes done. Let's not make a mistake when we're behind in the game. But yeah, you can see the Scots, they're always very well, I was going to say well trained. They're not puppies, obviously, but they really have a strong structure. British curling, as I said, we have a team from England here as well, but they always have a strong structure and they really learn the whole part of the game. So not only throwing stones, not only tactics even, but all that communication you'll see as well, you know, constant communication between both ends. Constant communication about the timings that they're getting on the watch. And you'll see all the Scottish teams very, very well drilled in that way. And in fact, yeah, throwing second at the moment in this game. That is Austin McKenzie. Another new face in the Scotland team. Just playing for a couple of years. But gosh, you wouldn't notice, would you? What a lovely shot that is. Lovely setup for Scotland this end. Just putting some pressure on St Gallen. But don't panic if you're St Gallen. There is quite a lot of blue building, but you do have last stone and still the house is fairly open. Not panic stations yet. Of course, they'll need to find their line a bit better, St Gallen, at some point. It is going to start getting a bit crowded in there. Although that has cut it down. That yellow at the back is now lying second shot. It's found a handy spot, actually, that yellow. Tucked in behind the blue. I'm not sure about that, Scotland. I think, your better idea is to stick to the more aggressive call here. They do have that blue out front. And if they play on the stones they've already got in the front of the house there, ahead of the tee line, that horizontal line halfway through, if they play on those stones, I think that's a better call at the moment. You can only see what just the edge really of that yellow, and if you would miss that yellow, then you really are giving St Gallen an opportunity to score 2 points. So I think this is the wise choice, just pretty much what you just played, and keep piling the blues in while everything's open. And that was a lovely shot from Austin McKenzie with his first throw. And this may be a little bit faster, but exactly that. If you've already got stones in play, you can play onto your own stones and typically give yourself a bit of a safety net that way. And that's really nice stuff now from Scotland. Now St Gallen do have to do something about this. They're running out of space. It's Scotland who are controlling that all-important area in front of tee line. Once the stone has gone beyond tee line, beyond halfway, you can't help it anymore. If you push it, it will only get further away. And that's why it's so important to try to set up and control that area ahead of tee line, because then you've got some stones you can move around, push towards the centre. And that's a nice shot from Ivo Hasler there. Still a bunch of blues hanging around, but cut it down, and most importantly, has opened up a big space. Right, I think I've figured out the Scotland line-up team. It is indeed Charlotte McKenna throwing lead. It is Keith Gray at second, another new face. It's Austin McKenzie at third, in front of you just now, holding the brush. And fourth hand skip for this game is Gary Smith. So we do have Gregor Ewan here as well, the highly experienced player. He not playing this game, but this is a good platform to try out new combinations as well. Long-time British curling wheelchair chief Sheila Swan is here for the weekend with both of her teams. Very experienced coach and knows exactly what she's doing, and eager to try out her new athletes in this competition. A lot of these teams will be going to Scotland next weekend. We have a sister competition over in Scotland. And it makes for a good couple of weeks journey for all of these teams. You come to WCT for competition. We have 6 games for all of the teams over the weekend. And then a lot of these teams will set off directly from Switzerland off to Scotland, have a day practice there, and then there is another international wheelchair event in Scotland. So it's a busy couple of weeks on the wheelchair calendar. But very high quality curling for 2 weekends in a row. That's an attractive package. So St Gallen not exactly in trouble, but could do with a couple of tidy throws here from Burkhard Müller. I would say at least St Gallen would like to level the score here. They don't really want to give up a steal. And that stone just curling a little bit too much there. And now Scotland could really close the door a bit here. Yeah, that guard is the guard out front, right on the centre line there, the centre of our picture. That's now the danger stone. If Scotland can swing a stone right around the back of that, that puts a lot of pressure on the final throw for St Gallen. Final throw of the second end for Team Scotland. We missed them last year, so we are very happy that the teams from Scotland and a team from England travelling this year. Oh, he's let St Gallen off the hook there, hasn't he? That blue just travelling on a bit. And gosh, as if rather against the run of play, there's actually a chance for a score of 2 here. Yeah, big sigh of relief for Burkhard Müller. Look at all those blues lying around, but only one of them counting. But still, early days. And if I was Scotland, I would be saying to myself, well, that was still a very good end from us. Just overthrew with our last stone, really. But that was still a good end. If we keep doing that, let's be patient, keep working. Points will come. But for now, a bit of a gift here. He will not get many better opportunities than this. Burkhard Müller to score against Scotland. He was a little bit inside on his line with his first throw. This looks much better. And that stone is going to roll beautifully. And gosh, rather against the run of play there in that second end. That end was all about Scotland for most of it. But you can see how important it is, just that final throw from Scotland. Running on a little bit too high. Let's watch that one again. And perfect throw from Burkhard Müller, making a lovely adjustment from his first throw and gobbling up that opportunity to score 2 points. So that will steady the ship for St Gallen. That means that in our featured game here in Curling Club Etsicon, after the second end, the score is Scotland 1, St Gallen 2. It's St Gallen leading us off in the third end out of 8. Typically play 8 ends in wheelchair curling. I think it's just the men's and women's you play 10. The mixed and mixed doubles and wheelchair, and we have a new discipline just since a couple of years ago. We now have wheelchair mixed doubles as well. Also plays 8 ends. But 8 ends here, and we have the Schenkel scoring system. If you've played in Scotland, you will definitely have run into the scoring system. And what it means is it's not only about winning or losing a game. Your team is ranked based on games won, and the total of ends won, and the total points won. So even if you don't win a game, it is still worth playing on and grabbing as many ends and points as you can. That can become really important on Sunday morning. At the end of each round, the total number of points in terms of games won, ends won, and stones, or points won. The teams are ranked 1 to 12. And rank 1 plays rank 2, 3 plays 4, etc., etc. So if you keep winning, you stay at the top of the table. And yeah, one more end than your opposition. That can become really important further in the competition. So it's just different. We did have a game coming off early this morning, and I think maybe our international visitors were not so familiar with the scoring system. So one team had already won. That was Slovakia, in fact, over the team from the US. But maybe forgetting that still worth playing on to win a couple more ends. So Team Scotland and St Gallen, they are currently joint 5th in the table. Top of the pile after the first round is Team Albatross Trentino from Italy, and they are currently playing Team Korea. They're over on sheet 2, and their score is, this is exactly what Korea did this morning, you know. It was a steal of 1 in the first end to Korea and another steal of 1 in the second end to Korea. They are 2-0 up against the team from Trentino in Italy. On sheet 1, also winning their game this morning and in joint 3rd place in the table at the moment, it is our champions from last year, Team Slovakia. They are up against Team Poland that we watched in our featured game this morning, and the champions are not in the mood to give up their title. They put up a huge score of 4 in the second end, and they lead Team Poland for 4-0. On Team 4, no, on sheet 4, we have Team Italy. They are playing the home club here in Vetsikon, and close game there. It was a 3 to Italy in the first end, but Club Vetsikon bouncing straight back with a 2. And that means it's Italy leading 3-2 over the home club here. On sheet 5, it is the first Swiss team. They are playing Team England, the other team representing British curling. And close game there. It is Swiss first team 2, England 1. And finally on sheet 6, it is our visitors all the way from the US. They are playing second Swiss team. And it is the Swiss who lead over the US 2 points to 1. So typically the games get closer as you move through the weekend. As typically you end up playing an opposition that is playing similarly well to you, as we rank the teams 1 to 12 after every round. So if you keep playing well, you keep winning, you will stay at the top of the table, and you will play other teams who are playing well and staying at the top of the table. And if you're struggling a little bit, then the good news is you don't keep running into the teams who are beating everyone. Scotland then a bit of a sucker punch in that second end. Just one loose shot and a bit of a get out of jail free for their opposition, and it's St Gallen who are +1, but it is Scotland with last stone, and it is Scotland lying 2. Objectives for this end, fairly simple at this early stage in the game. St Gallen, they don't need to score in this end. They are +1 overall in the game. And we're still at a pretty early stage. They just want to make sure that Scotland don't have a chance to start building points. And that's a very nice throw from Christine Bedchart. She gets a roll towards the centre. Just making that maybe a little more awkward to remove that yellow. There is a blue behind the chair of Gary Smith. So if you get your angle wrong, you may end up just squirting it straight back onto the opposition stone, rather onto your own stone, the opposition stone onto yours. And what's Scotland's objective for this end? Well, still early days. They don't have to be aggressive, but they do have last stone. And there is one guard out front. Doesn't really matter what colour it is. That's still a guard they can hide behind. But a bit of a half shot there from Keith Gray, and what that means is that St Gallen, they can now clean up completely. Scotland really needed their shooter to hang around, to just always have 2 blues somewhere in play at the conclusion of their throw. That's not going to happen this time. And Ivo Hassler has an opportunity to remove the final Scotland counter. He does. And now, what will Scotland do? They have 2 choices. There is that guard out front. And they may wish to get to the centre first. Don't let St Gallen try to use that guard out front for themselves. They could draw away from the centre towards the edge of the rings. Just try to pull St Gallen away from the centre, but it's getting a little bit late in the end for that, for my taste. They could just remove that guard. That's probably what I would do, but as mentioned, I'm from the 1980s and super conservative when it comes to tactics. So you can tell by the clockwise direction of that curl that Austin Mackenzie is drawing away from the centre. Now, that seems like a funny idea. What's the point of that? Well, Scotland are thinking the whole end through. It's just pulled up short, but yeah, they wanted it in the rings, and that does hand a little bit of advantage back to St Gallen. But what were Scotland trying to do there? That maybe seems like a strange idea, to draw away from the centre. And what they were doing is really thinking through the whole end. That if they keep the play towards the sides of the rink, that keeps St Gallen away from the centre. And if that stone had just had a metre or so extra running in it, that would force St Gallen to make a play on that blue stone rather than, as they are now, playing towards the centre. So that was the idea, but just coming up a little bit short. No sweepers to help it. And I think that stone is going to stop. It is. That's given Scotland a bit of a target then. Now the opposite is true. Now St Gallen have forced Scotland to play towards the centre. But they can see most of that yellow, Scotland. And indeed, it looks like Gary Smith indicating, let's try to remove it. Just controlled weight there. You see that much more in the modern game. As I said, the ice conditions, ice technology has hugely improved since the 1980s, when I'm from. You used to really have to take a run at some stones in the 80s, but yeah, ice technology really advanced since then, and hand in hand with that, you can see that stone, it wasn't as hard as he can throw, because he still really wanted that blue to remain in the rings. So the harder you throw, the less control you have over it once the stone is released. So Austin McKenzie just taking a little bit off that stone, just enough to push the yellow out, but make sure that his blue is still hanging around. Nice throw from him. Remember St Gallen's job here in the third end. They are +1 overall, +1 point. They simply want to avoid Scotland scoring big here, and big means anything more than 1. Oh gosh, that's awfully close to the centre line. Oh, that's got a very tight line, and that is not what he wanted. And that hands advantage back to Scotland. So Burkhart, he will be looking at a tough shot with his final throw. Meanwhile, while we're setting up for Gary Smith's first throw in the third end, we can say thank you to all of our sponsors. You can see them in, they were just rolling through the bottom left of your screen there. Our stream team this weekend is Media Rent. They were also our stream team last year, and we have a few new cool things this year. We have Office Cam, where I live. And we have Media Corner as well. So I will be talking to the teams over the weekend, asking them about the games, asking them about their seasons, that sort of thing. And you will find those videos on the Instagram channel. That is IWCT_Vetsikon. And maybe on the website as well. So the website is IWCT.ch. So do keep in touch with us in whichever way, either via Instagram or share the live stream with a friend. Share the website with your colleagues. The more the merrier. And if you are a wheelchair user, or your friend or colleague is a wheelie user and they would like to try curling, it's super easy to get into. So even if you're the only one, You don't need to find a dedicated wheelchair club, although there are many. We have several wheelchair clubs here in Switzerland, and in Scotland I know there are wheelchair clubs as well. But even if it's just you or your friend or colleague, you can just get in touch with your local curling club and they will have everything you need. As you can see, it's just your regular day-to-day chair. There's no adjustment needed. You can see some of the players, they have certain stick to hold for balance or so, but to come and try, you don't need any adjustment to your regular day-to-day chair. And the club will have the delivery stick that you see. And oh, Burkhard, that's not it. That is not a good end for him. And the team from St. Gallen, they were doing nicely, just keeping a lid on this end, but a bad end for Burkhard Muller there, and that has handed Scotland a huge opportunity. You will not get an easier chance than this, Gary Smith. So in Scotland, you would call this a find the paint shot. That just means just hit any part of those rings. And 3 points will be yours. There's the first point already in the front of house. There's the second point towards the back. And this is going to make it. Yes, it is. That's a super throw from Gary Smith. Really strong end from Scotland. St. Gallen will be kicking themselves. They had that end pretty well under control. But Scotland having a couple of chances to make extra points and taking both of them, and big smiles for them. That is a great score of 3 in the third end here in our featured game. And that means that the overall score is Scotland 4, St. Gallen 2. Well then, as we approach the halfway in our featured game at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament here in Curling Club Wetzikon in the Zurich Oberland, we are watching our visitors, Team Scotland, getting stronger and stronger in this game against the team from St. Gallen, about an hour east from here. Not panic stations. The St. Gallen team, they've won this competition before and a lot of experience in that Swiss team. The team, well, not exactly this team, but teams from St. Gallen, they've been Swiss champions. So they know what they're doing, and certainly the 4 players in front of us, they have all played for a long, long time, really, since the start of wheelchair curling becoming popular. But it's the mixture of new and experienced players in the Scotland team that are having the better of this first half. And, well, goodness me, Charlotte McKenna, just to prove her point, has covered the hole. And that is exactly the right shot from Scotland. They are now plus 2 points. They lead 4 points to 2. They do not need to score any more points at the moment. They just want to sit on this lead a little bit, just make sure the Swiss are not having chances to score big. And Charlotte McKenna could not have placed that stone any better. And remember, she has to do that without any sweepers to help her as well. St. Gallen, on the other hand, they do have last stone. They're only behind by 2. So certainly not anything to worry about. And that's a nice start from Evald Banvart. Fairly simple tactics though, as you can imagine. If we just keep doing this for 8 Scottish stones and 8 Swiss stones, then the team from St Gallen, they will only be able to score 1 point. But I think it's still early enough in the game that, yeah, the Swiss, they don't need to go all out aggressive, not yet. We're only just approaching the halfway. Yeah, if you're a wheelie user or you know someone who's a wheelie user and would like to try curling, it really is super accessible. This is a dedicated wheelchair event, but even if it's just you in your friend group who's wheelie user, you can go ahead and play with everyone else. At the club, it's perfectly normal that everyone plays together. There are dedicated wheelchair clubs and, of course, dedicated competitions, but it's also perfectly normal that wheelchair players play with everyone else in the club as well. You can have a wheelchair team in a foot player competition, in a foosie competition, or you can have a wheelchair member of your team, even if the rest of you are foot players. It's really highly accessible. No adjustment needed to your everyday chair, and the curling club will have a delivery stick that you can use. We have here in Wetzikon a stick tournament actually, and everyone is obliged to play with stick delivery. I've never done it actually. Takes a bit of getting used to, even with someone using stick delivery in your team, either a wheelie colleague or a foos colleague. The stick delivery can be very helpful as well for folks who have maybe more limited mobility in the legs or maybe problems with their knees. It really makes it a lot easier for folks to continue curling. But unsurprisingly, the folks from the wheelchair club tend to do well at the Wetzikon stick tournament. So I think the last thing Keith Gray said to himself before that throw was, don't be short. Anything short, and I mean short of the house, that would be a guard, and any guards or short stones, that would only help St Gallen. That would give them something to hide behind. Always good to know the tolerance for your shot. So, okay, if it's not perfect, is it better if it's a little bit too long or a little bit too short? And looks like Keith Gray said to himself, okay, don't be short with that stone. And he ended up being a bit too long. Well, this looks nice from Christine Berchart. That's a good throw from her. That's very nice. So she has a really good weight. It's landed exactly on the tee line, that horizontal line in the middle. And there is a blue stone somewhat closely behind. You can see if she gets the angle wrong, or rather if Scotland gets the angle wrong, they could just squirt that yellow straight back onto the blue. That's what St Gallen will be hoping. We said at the beginning of this end that if we just put one stone in and then opposition hits it out, then you hit theirs out, opposition hits it out. If we do that for 8 stones each, then we end up with a score just of 1 point. And if we do that for 8 ends, we will end up with a score of 4 each. And that's why if you want to win the game, you need to do something a bit more than that. Ooh, he is going to catch that blue on the way out. But he does safely remove the yellow, first things first. So typically, if you have last stone, you are happy to get more than 1 point. We can think of 1 point with your 1 last stone as something of a default. But not always. You have to think about the stage of the game and think about the current score as well. You don't always have to be aggressive. You don't always have to try to get a mistake from your opposition. And St Gallen, indeed, just really keeping it simple out there. Maybe just saying to themselves, OK, let's make sure we can score 1 point relatively easily here. We just keep the stones in the house. Just keep things tidy, keep things clean. Let's try to give ourselves a strong chance to score 1 point. And then maybe in the second half of the game, we can go more aggressive at that point. And I think that's a sensible strategy at this stage. We have plenty of ends left. Stray stones coming from another game are an occasional hazard in wheelchair curling. It's just a little bit more time consuming making your way around the ice if you're a wheelchair user. But we use common sense and everybody's very accommodating. We're approaching the halfway in our afternoon session here on a lovely autumn Friday afternoon in the Zurich Oberland in Curling Club Wetzikon. Let's see how everyone else is getting on sheet 1. Reigning champions from Slovakia. They are 5-0 ahead over Team Poland. On rink 2, Team Korea. They just keep scoring 1-1-1. And they are now 3-0 ahead against Team Albatros Trentino, the other team from Italy. Next to us on sheet 4, we have the national team of Italy playing the home team from Curling Club Wetzikon. It is Italy leading 4-2. Sheet 5, it's all square. A good steal from the team from England, the other team from British Curling. They are all square, 2 points each with the Switzerland first team. And finally on sheet 6, we have the Switzerland second team. They are leading 3 points to 1 over our visitors from US. That's Team Wagami. We shall find out more about them later in the weekend. We're certainly hoping to feature all of our international guests on the stream at some point in the weekend. So do keep tuning in. You don't know who you're going to play in the next round in this style of competition. It just depends. At the conclusion of each round, we total up games won, ends won, points won for each team. Rank everybody 1 to 12. And then 1 plays 2, 3 plays 4, etc., etc. So we don't know in advance who will be our next featured game, but we will always pick the spiciest one for us to watch together. Scotland then quite comfortable in this first half of the game. But both of those blues are behind tee. So less dangerous for St Gallen than if they were ahead of tee in the front of the house. So a nice throw from Ivo Hassler. As we said, this end, tactically, pretty simple. St. Gallen, they seem to be interested in making sure they can get an easy point of 1 or an easy score of 1, rather than trying to set up a more complicated situation and going for 2 points. Maybe just feeling like, let's just steady the ship, let's make sure we can score 1 point here, and then step up with a bit more aggressive tactics in the second half rather. Skip stones then in the fourth end. We are nearly at the halfway point in our featured game. This is our second round of 5. We have 2 more rounds tomorrow. They are at 10 AM and 2 PM European. We have a final round on Sunday morning at 8:30 European, and the ranking games, well, the show begins at 12:30, and the teams will be piped onto the ice by the Zurich Caledonian Pipe Band. Curling maintaining a lot of traditions from its home in Scotland, and always something very special to have the pipe band welcoming the teams onto the ice for the ranking games. And that begins at 12:45, so we have a whole weekend of curling to enjoy together. So both teams seem to have silently agreed that we're just going to keep this end clear, just keep all the play in the house, nothing complicated. St. Gallen unlikely to have a chance at 2, but we thought that in the second end, and just 1 loose shot from Scotland, suddenly there was a chance for 2. I wouldn't rely on that for a strategy to get 2. There's one of our chief volunteers, Jörg, in the background. He's been volunteering at this competition for many years now. Looking for a nice clean finish then to this end. Nothing too aggressive from St. Gallen. Still early days in terms of this game. Maybe just wanting to keep it simple. Give ourselves a good chance to score 1 point here. And Burkhardt removing one of those blues, but he does roll out himself. So Scotland can put a bit of pressure on the final throw here. I would do this entirely the other way, Scotland. I would simply drop a blue right in front of the blue I already have. You could also come at it on this handle. But yeah, I would quite like to have a blue right in front of my own blue, such that if St. Gallen hits the front blue and doesn't get the double, then I might be able to even steal a shot. So not too much pressure on Gary Smith with his final throw here in the fourth end. Scotland's objective met, really, for this fourth end. They will be happy to simply limit the St. Gallen scoring opportunities, and they have done that successfully. Having said that, it seems like really from the first stone that St. Gallen were not really interested in an aggressive end here. They just wanted to steady the ship, keep things simple, keep it easy, and just make sure they could score something. That's pretty much exactly where Scotland wanted it. You can see hitting that front blue only doesn't really help them, because then the blue next to Evo's brush, that would count as shot. So they still need to do something about that blue just touching the forefoot, the blue circle. That's why I might have wanted that blue just thrown by Gary Smith. I might have wanted that right in front of my own blue and really force St Gallen to either make a big double takeout or draw to the pin. So quite some pressure on this throw. It is Scotland line 2. And we need a nice, again, controlled weight here. Doesn't need to be too heavy, this stone. Needs to hit and stick. So I've certainly got the weight to remove that blue. That's perfect. That is a good clutch shot from Burkhard Müller. Quite a difference if St Gallen scores 1, as they have, making the score 4-3, or if that stone had not worked out, if Scotland had scored 1 or 2, they would have really put some distance between themselves and their opposition. So well done, Burkhard Müller. That means at the halfway point in our featured game, at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament, it is Team Scotland 4, St Gallen 3. You can see in the background an important person I forgot to mention, my apologies, and that is the team coach for this Scotland team, and that is Niall Ryder. He's still very young in his career. He was gold medalist at the World Juniors just a couple of years ago. So he's the team coach, and Sheila, the overall British curling director. But Niall down at the ice, just giving the team some encouragement, maybe some words of advice. It is advantage Scotland though, as we begin the second half of our featured game here. Scotland quite happy to play fairly defensively. They are still ahead on the scoreboard. And St Gallen being fairly conservative in that fourth end. But working out for them. It looks like they just wanted to make sure they could score at least 1 point, and they have. But now I would like to see them being a little more aggressive with their tactics. They haven't really been forcing Scotland to play difficult shots yet. And that's what they will need to do for at least a couple of ends if they are going to take the lead here. So setting us off in the second half of our featured game, it is Evald Banvard. And this is like a lovely throw from him. That's a really nice throw from Banvard. That stone protected by free guard zone. And right in the centre, perfect start from St Gallen. Here's confirmation of the score, the bottom of your screen there. It's still Scotland with a narrow lead. But I feel like the momentum is a little bit more with Scotland at this halfway point. Let's see how the momentum is on the other sheets. On sheet 1 at the halfway, Slovakia continue to just put the pressure on. It is Slovakia 6, Poland 0. On sheet 2, it is Korea leading Team Albatross Trentino, the other Italian team, 3-1. Next to us on sheet 4, it's all square again. It's Team Italy and Curling Club Vetsicon. They are 4 each at the halfway. On sheet 5, Team England are having a bright spell. It is they who lead Switzerland 1. The Swiss first team, rather, not to get confused. It is England leading the Switzerland first team 4 points to 2 at the halfway. And finally, on sheet 6, it is the Switzerland second team. They are leading our US visitors, Team Wagami, 3 points to 2 at the halfway. So everyone in the second half of their game this afternoon. We have 2 rounds for every day of the weekend. This is our second round today. We have 2 rounds tomorrow and 2 rounds, well, 1 round on Sunday and then the ranking games in the afternoon. And that's another good throw from Bandvart. I think he was aiming to go behind his own guard. But a double guard out front, that's not a bad result. This is what St Gallen need if they're going to start putting pressure on Scotland. They are letting Scotland dictate the game to them a little bit. Yeah, you have last stone Scotland, but you also have 2 potentially troublesome St Gallen guards out front, close to centre. But we're only on stone number 4. That means the free guard zone is still active. So Scotland not allowed to just remove those stones, not yet. We are not playing a no-tick rule, so you are allowed to play the tick shot. That means you can move the stone in the free guard zone, you can move it around, but not out of play. If it's on the centre line, excuse me. So if the stone is touching the centre line at some of the highest level competitions, they've been experimenting with a no-tick rule because the top teams were really getting too good at it. A nice effort from Charlotte McKenna. That stone not quite in the house, but you can see it would take very little to just punch it forward a couple of metres. So I think she should be fairly happy with where that stone has landed. Christine Betchard then trying again to just go around the back. That is also going to come up short, but the tolerance for that shot, certainly it's more helpful a bit too short than a bit too long. It's no use if it's too long. St Gallen they're only behind by 1, but they are behind. We're in the second half now of the game, and stones out front are what they need. This is an interesting choice from Scotland. An aggressive choice, which we always like to see. The free guard zone is over, and Scotland could now start removing opposition guards if they want. But instead, they are playing the aggressive call, and they're going to try to get to the centre first. Try to use those St Gallen guards against them in a way. And Keith Gray not quite managing that, but that's not a bad result. He's now got a double corner guard. But can Scotland get those corner guards into play? Another chance then for Christine Betchard to get a stone into the centre first. You can see both teams really trying to get control of that all-important area in front of T-line. And it looked like the weight on that was good, but just curling too much, and we're getting a bit of a Great Wall of Switzerland out front at the moment. Who is going to be first to get a stone in behind? All the athletes staying at the Swiss Star Hotel, which is right across the street from the club. Very convenient. And we're not too far from the town centre, where there's lots of nice places to have a cosy coffee, a schloomly floomly. I don't drink coffee. I think that's a coffee and brandy or something. It's some sort of coffee with a bit of a kick to it. And that's a handy effort there from Keith Gray. Still space for St Gallen to follow that blue. But again, without sweeping, it is difficult to find that perfect line. Now it's Ivo Hasler's turn to thread a stone through that gap. Can he follow that nice stone just played from Scotland? This looks a bit better. Oh, he's just a bit too high with the weight though. You can see the line on that was super. And that is a missed chance for St Gallen. They've got a great setup out front. Scotland left them a bit of space to put a stone in ahead of their own. And that will go down as a missed opportunity for St Gallen. They could have started putting a bit of pressure on Scotland with an accurate throw there. So Austin McKenzie's turn then to consolidate that nice throw from his teammate, and he's done that ever so nicely. So perfect would be that blue stone also in the house that Scotland would be lying to, but what he has done, he has, as you can see, really now made that path with the anti-clockwise handle. He's made that a lot more difficult, and indeed Burkhard Müller now going to the other side of the sheet. Let's try something on the clockwise handle instead. Punch one of the yellows forward. So this is turning into a tasty end, viewer, isn't it? You can see how this can change very quickly. So he's very accurate with pushing this one forward. Ivo Hasler. Ooh, look at that for a shot. That is perfect. Now we see the value of all those guards out front. Absolutely. Fist bump there. That's why the tolerance for those previous shots, they're no use if they're through the back, if they're too long. If we have a couple of extra guards lying around, which they did, that's guards that we can punch forward into the rings. Ivo Hassler has done that perfectly. And yeah, now what's the deal for Scotland? That's the risk for Scotland. When they played towards the centre, instead of either removing centre guards or playing towards the wings, this was the risk for them, that if St Gallen can find a perfect shot, which they did, then Scotland has to go on the defensive all of a sudden. So this is brighter from St Gallen. They were letting Scotland boss them around a bit, but this is better. So we need to clear a bit of space now with Austin Mackenzie's second throw. Oh, that was close. Millimeters away from a beautiful shot there. And now an important decision. Let's see that again. Look at that. That just holds his breath as it squeaks by the stones in the house there. That was nearly a peachy shot. A brave try from Mackenzie. Yeah, so good decisions really needed now, as well as good throws from St Gallen. They need to ask themselves, okay, with last stone, what will Scotland try to do next? What stone would they like to play? And let's prevent them doing so. And looks like St Gallen saying to themselves, I think Scotland are most likely to try and draw a stone through that gap on the anti-clockwise handle. So let's try and block that. I'm not sure that's the most obvious stone at this point, but again, another guard out front. Unlikely to be a bad idea at this point. Yeah, we don't want this too far in though. Ooh. Actually, I think that's found a good spot. It sure has. That's the view from the throwing end. I was a little bit nervous that that yellow might be too open, not hidden enough behind the guards, and leave a double takeout for Scotland. But I don't think you can see very much. What, maybe 1/3, 1/4. Looks like Gary Smith's going to have a run at it though. Full beans. And to be fair, I don't think there's a better idea at the moment for Scotland. If they want to make good use of last stone in this fifth end, then they either need to make some space out front or they need to go for the short stone just now. And I fancy they will get one or the other. conclusion of an exciting fifth end in our featured game here in Vetikon. Plenty of stones in play. The situation switching backward and forward. It is St Gallen who are currently lying 2. They do not have last stone. What can Scotland do about it? Ooh, that took a little redirection. That gap is not very big. And again, without sweepers to try to help with the line, either to catch some curl or try to hold it straight, it's difficult to play such a stone on such curly ice. But goodness me, what a chance now for St Gallen. Looks like they were wise to play a conservative end in the 4th. Completely opposite to what we're seeing now in the 5th, but that was their decision. It looked like they just wanted to keep it simple, keep things easy. Step up with the aggressive stuff in the 5th end. There's confirmation. Yeah, just 1 point, but that's exactly what they played for in the 4th end, St Gallen. And they've really switched up the tactics here in the 5th end. And now they have a chance to put Scotland under a whole heap of pressure, really for the first time in the game. And this looks really nice from Burkhardt. Is he even going to get a bonus 3rd stone? That looks nice. It's a little bit further in the house than I would like. I would like that stone to be a bit further away from the other 2. Austin Mackenzie indicating that I think yellow lie 2. But yeah, I would like that stone a bit further away from its 2 little friends, because that has left Scotland a better target than they had last time. But still not an easy shot here. I'm not sure there's... Ooh, is there a triple takeout? Triple takeout would be quite a big ask if you're using leg drive to get that power, and if you're only using upper body strength to get that power, that is a very difficult shot. And indeed, the Scotland team coming up for a committee meeting. They're getting a little bit slow out there. The other games have all started their 6th end. They just need to be a little bit careful. They do have a timeout if they want. They can call their coach, Niall Ryder, to offer some advice. Oh, actually, it looks like they already did. I must have missed the signal. But that disembodied arm you can see floating in and out from the side of the ice. So coach not allowed on the ice, but next to. Niall down on the ice offering some words of wisdom. There he is with the black hat on. As I said, still very young in his own career. Niall Ryder, he was part of the gold medal winning team at the World Juniors a couple of years ago. Another new face for the British curling wheelchair setup. Good to see. So decision's been made. It is last stone here in the fifth end. And the good news for St Gallen is this is very much a damage limitation shot. I don't know if Scotland can get even 1 point from this. So after coach interaction, after a timeout, final throw for Scotland in the fifth end. This certainly looks accurate. This was the issue that St Gallen had left Scotland a bit of a target, but they got away with it. And yeah, I think that was a good throw actually from Gary Smith. I think maybe just the angles were very kind to St Gallen there. And the momentum has shifted again in this game. After really aggressive, exciting fifth end, completely different to the highly conservative fourth end. It was a huge steal of 3 to the team from St Gallen, and it is now St Gallen leading Team Scotland 6 points to 4. While we're setting up for the sixth end of our featured game, it's the Friday afternoon draw of the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament in Curling Club Wetzikon. We just saw our sponsors rolling through the bottom corner of your screen there. We say a big thank you to them. They really make it possible for all of our players to have a great time at this competition. The teams are really well looked after here. We have a really nice club room upstairs. That's where we all are. Nice and warm and cosy. Very nice homemade food available. And the hotel's right across the street so that everyone can come and go as they like. And we're not too far from the middle of town here in Wetzikon. There's lots of nice places to have a coffee, have a team debrief. It's all a very magical combination. And we really say particularly big thank you to all of our visiting teams, all of our international visitors, many of whom travel a long way. We have 3 continents represented here in this round of the competition. We have a team visiting from the US. They are over on sheet 6, and we have the national team of Korea on sheet 2. And of course, European teams from Slovakia, Italy, Poland, Scotland, and England. And 4 teams hailing from Switzerland to round off a really strong field in this competition. An intriguing lineup we have in our featured game this afternoon. The St Gallen Club, they have won this competition before. Several of the folks on the team in front of us, they know what it's like to win this competition. And I don't think Scotland have won, not for a few years at least. But a Scottish team, always very well trained. They really know their stuff. Any Scottish team is going to give you a tough game out there. But for the first time in the game, it is Scotland on the back foot a little bit. Confirmation of a big steal of 3 in a brave end there from St Gallen. completely the opposite to the fourth end, where they were highly conservative, but they had good courage. They put out a bunch of guards out front. That lovely shot from Ivo Hasler to just punch one of those guards in behind cover. And suddenly all the pressure was on Scotland, and not too much Scotland could do about it with their last throw. So it is Scotland now chasing the game. They are down 4 points to 6. So I'm sure it will be Scotland we see with the more aggressive tactics in the sixth end. No extra end at this point in the competition. We play 8 ends, and if scores are tied, they remain tied, and each team gets 1 point, as well as counting the ends and points scored. And that is a lovely start again from Charlotte McKenna with her first stone. She threw away from the centre to try to tempt the St Gallen team into keeping away from that centre line, try to make life easier for Gary Smith when he comes to play. But then with her second throw, just putting another stone into play behind centre, behind the cover. So she has definitely earned her dinner this evening. Really good play from her. And that wasn't quite what Christine Betchard wanted. And already a little bit of advantage to Scotland here in the sixth end. Thanks really to that lovely setup play from the lady that was just in your picture there, Charlotte McKenna. Missed out on going to World Championships in 2020, was due to represent Scotland, and then of course all the championships had to be cancelled that year due to COVID. Ross White knows a lot how you feel, Charlotte. And these teams, the international teams, they will also be starting to think about Paralympic in a couple of years' time. That was in Beijing in 2022, and it will be right next door to us in Milano Cortina in 2026. And the national representative teams out there, I'm sure they will already be starting to think about that. You have qualifying competition is the World Championships, and then it's the top 10 countries. It's not very many. I think we have, what, 70 something now countries in the World Curling Federation. So top 10, it's a big ask. But Scotland, they will have high hopes of qualifying for Paralympic. They're currently ranked 8th in the world. It does get a bit confusing at Olympics because, of course, in Olympics you have a British team rather than a Scottish or English or Welsh team. Ireland is a slightly different situation again. Now, it looks like we have a technical timeout here. There may be a technical issue, or maybe somebody threw a stone out of order. I didn't think so, though. Or maybe somebody needs to change their brush or something. I will find out for you, viewer. I saw the program director, Sheila, in the background, so must be some question for her. But yeah, you're signalling there with the X. That's a technical timeout. So a T, making a T with your hands, is a coach timeout. That calls the coach, and that X, that's a technical timeout. So yeah, typically that's an issue with a stone or an issue with a clock or something like that. But everybody seems to be in a good mood. I saw Jörg explaining to Burkhard there what was going on, so we will just await that resolution. Arlula maybe had an issue with his chair. That's an occupational hazard peculiar to the wheelchair game, obviously. But you can see the clock ticking down in the background, but don't worry. For a technical timeout, one of our volunteers, I think it may be Jörg that you saw in the background in his yellow jacket, he will be separately timing this technical timeout. And if needed, then this game will have that time added if the clock reaches 0. So the teams don't miss out due to a technical issue. Can be a bit disruptive when there's a technical issue, either with a stone or, yeah, I see that Guy Smith's gone off the ice, so I wonder if it was maybe an issue with his chair. But yeah, it can disturb your concentration a bit for both teams. But again, a common sense approach. We will be separately timing this technical timeout so that the teams do not lose any playing time. But that's a good opportunity for us to check what's going on elsewhere. And over on sheet 1, Poland will be glad to have a point on the board. They are up against last year's champions. It's Team Slovakia. Slovakia, they have really been strong since the inception of the wheelchair game. They've always been there or thereabouts. And yeah, last year's defending champions, they are ahead of Poland 6 points to 1 on sheet 1. On sheet 2, we have Team Korea. They are looking pretty strong out there. They also won their games this morning, and they are playing against Team Albatros Trentino, who won this morning, and that is 6-3. The Koreans are ahead there. We have resolved the technical issue on our sheet. So yeah, deep breath, Gary. All fine. We'll come back to that in just a second. On sheet 4 next to us, there's a good battle going on over there. It is the home team from Club Vetsikon here. They are 6-5 ahead at the moment over Team Italy, the national team from Italy. On sheet 5, again, another intriguing battle going on. Big comeback from the first team from Switzerland. They now lead with 2 scores of 3 back-to-back. They lead Team England 8-4. And finally on sheet 6, the Team Switzerland second team. They are leading our team from the US, Team Wagami. They are leading 5 points to 2. So we are back in action here on sheet 3. And Scotland wasting no time putting another blue in play. It is behind T-line, and that does mean there's space for St Gallen to come in as well. They don't, but that's found a decent spot. Remember what happened in the last end? There were a few yellow guards out front, and all it took was that one lovely shot from Ivo Hasler to punch that guard forward a couple of metres, and all of a sudden Scotland had a question they couldn't answer finally. There was St Gallen picking up a huge steal of 3, but Scotland bouncing right back. You can see a whole lot of blues there and another one coming right now, but that yellow right in the centre of everything, that is the danger stone. And we have an extra 5 minutes for this game due to the technical timeout. So if the clock reaches 0, we will separately time 5 minutes to make sure that both of our teams, Scotland and St Gallen, to make sure that they have the same playing time as everyone else. Ooh. Oh gosh, you can see why that yellow was dangerous, and I don't think that's quite what Austin McKenzie was going for, but he will take that. That has completely moved that yellow out of the danger area. So yeah, I would take that if I was you. But that does open the door for another attempt for Ivo Hasler. Now this looks better. It's got a bit more running on it. It's coming in a little bit faster. It's going to nudge all the way up to that blue and just get a little roll, and that is a fine throw from Ivo. That's the view from the throwing end. So Scotland, they can get to that yellow, but as you can see, there's a couple of blues hanging around either side behind it. So if you're at all inaccurate on the angles, you might just stuff that yellow back onto your blue. So good throw from Ivo. Getting St Gallen team out of a little bit of trouble in this end. First things first, yeah, we definitely need to attack that yellow. It's the yellow that's lying shot, and you can see the score at the bottom of your screen there. That big score of 3 really turned the tables, shifted the momentum in our featured game. But as I said, a Scotland team is always very well trained, very disciplined. Typically very mentally tough, the Scottish teams as well. They just really know what they have to do. Stick to the task. And task for Austin McKenzie is to chase after that yellow. So this is coming at speed, this blue. He needs to catch the right angle on the yellow. Ooh, and that was the danger. So both of those blues behind coming into play then. And both of those blues saving that yellow that doesn't roll out after all. Showing us what a nice throw that was from Ivo Hasler. Scotland not managing to remove that yellow. And now it is again St Gallen. Just as it was in the 5th end, they have big chance for Burkhard Muller to close this door and give Scotland a much harder shot there. That was the replay of that blue. The yellow punching both of the blues behind it and finally bouncing itself almost back to where it started. What's the tolerance for this shot, team? We don't mind if this one just stays out front a little bit. We just want to close this door, block that hole. Ooh. Stop, stop, stop. That does finally stop ahead of the tee line, and that is a good shot from Burkhardt. So St Gallen lying at least 2 yellow. And it's Scotland now under a bit of pressure again. But certainly makeable shot here. That's why we didn't really want that yellow travelling in to the house too far. A little bit further away from the centre would have been preferable, because now Gary Smith has an opportunity to punch that yellow out at the... on the out... No, wait. He has a chance to get to the inside of that yellow, punch the yellow outwards and roll himself inwards. Well, this is a well-played end from St Gallen, from the two back-end players. He's put a lot of handle on that, Gary Smith, and that may hold it a little bit straighter. It does, but first things first, the shot yellow has gone, and it is now Scotland in the 4-foot. Now, let's be clever here, St Gallen. Only 2 stones to come. One for St Gallen, one for Scotland. And what's your objective if you're St Gallen? Is it fine for you if Scotland score 1? I think so. Current score is 6-4 to St Gallen. If Scotland score 1, it's 6-5, but then you've got last stone again. Important, really, is that we make sure Scotland can only score 1. So that could be by just playing the same shot we just saw from Scotland, so replacing their blue with our yellow. Or if you just play a more like a tee weight, and if you would just bump up to that blue, that's a difficult shot for Scotland to make more than 1 point. So sometimes that can be a good idea. This is a Tactics 101 class, is that don't be scared of 1 point to the opposition. Oftentimes, that's a good score. That's good for you. And this would be one of those times that a score of 1 to Scotland, that's fine for St Gallen. And it looks like that's what they're thinking. They could remove that blue. They could go for that. But I like this. I think this is a more mature call. This is what we called this morning playing the scoreboard. St Gallen are already +2. Giving 1 point to Scotland is fine for them. So let's really just try to close the door on any more than 1 Scotland point. Final throw for St Gallen in the 6th end. This is coming in at some pace. Is it going to squeak past? I think I'm not sure if they were trying to remove the blue, but yeah, you can see the problem now is that they have left Scotland a chance to score 2. That blue behind everything. Nothing to do there. And the same kind of shot that Scotland just threw. Same kind of stone for Gary Smith. And again, interesting, I think you would often see the Fußgänger, the foot players, potentially coming at this on the other handle, the anti-clockwise handle. But this is a subtle difference that you quite often see in wheelchair curling. Just the angle that you're coming at the brush is slightly different because you're not using that leg drive. And as you can see, you're starting a bit further up the ice. And sometimes it's just easier to make a shot on the other handle compared with foot players. So a huge chance for Gary Smith to level the score here. He's certainly connecting with the yellow. And he's done it. That is a big score of 2 to Scotland. He had one chance at it. Didn't blink, and Scotland have levelled the score as well. That was a missed chance from St Gallen. He played a decent end, but yeah, I think that final throw didn't quite work out. So he does catch another yellow at the back, but it's enough. And a super score there from Scotland. They were looking likely maybe only for 1 point all the way through that end, but finally they had one chance to score 2 and they took it. They will be delighted with that. And gosh, it's really going down to the wire in our featured game, but that does level the score. After 6 ends in our featured game at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament in Curling Club Vetsikon, it is 6 each in our featured game between the team from Scotland against St Gallen. Phew, so all kinds of excitement in the second half of this game. It was a fairly conservative first half, but gosh, both teams have really opened the taps in the past couple of ends. And looking at the clock, plus our additional time, we had a technical timeout during that end. Nevertheless, I think we've got about 11 minutes, and that may not be enough time to finish this end. You need to finish the 7th end by the time the clock is at 0. And that would be a special clock for our game, including the technical time. But yeah, 11 minutes, they will really have to get their skates on if they want to finish a 7th end. So this could be the last end of this session. Unless we play something like 16 hits, which I doubt. And that's another fine start from Charlotte McKenna. She's been very consistent with her weight. That's exactly what you're looking for in lead thrower. Someone who can reliably do the same thing again and again. We often joke that it's the most difficult shot in curling is exactly the same again, please. But Charlotte McKenna really setting her team up very nicely. And since we are running a bit short on time in this round, extra pressure on the lead throwers to set up this end. Scores are level, it's 6 each. So this is almost like a one-end shootout, almost like an extra end tactic. I think end 7 here in our featured game, I think this will be the final end of this session. And that's a decent throw from Ewald. He has something in the house to bother Scotland, but it's just slipped behind the tee line. As we said, ideally the teams want to control the area ahead of that tee line. And we can see just behind the players there, that's the logo for Media End. That's our stream team all weekend. The same team that we had last year for the live stream for our international competition. We will be aiming to feature all of our international visitors at least once in the stream over the weekend. We already were able to watch Poland this morning. I'm sure Scotland will hope that we will be able to watch them hopefully in the later stages of the competition. They will have high hopes for this competition here. And we also have teams from Korea, Italy, England, also under the British curling umbrella, team from the US, and of course last year's defending champions, the mighty Slovakian team. Charlotte McKenna's final throw of this game. I think our weight is beautiful. She just catches that on the curl, but again, with that nice controlled weight, now she has two guards out front, and that's fine. So, good job, Charlotte. There we are. We are absolutely poised here in the featured game. The score at the bottom of your screen there is 6 each. We are running short on time, so even with that additional time that we will add on for this game due to a technical timeout, I don't think we'll have time for an 8th end here, and that means the 7th end will almost certainly decide the winner. So big pressure on both lead throwers. Charlotte McKenna doing her job for Scotland. Evald Banvart for St Gallen Club. Trying to come around those Scottish guards. Trying to reach the centre first is St Gallen with last stone. And we're not playing a no-tick rule. And actually, that stone of Charlotte's, there's a good view. Not quite touching that line. So that's a brave call from St Gallen, saying, let's try to get to the centre first before Scotland can get there, and just sort of try to hang on. But that has a risk as well, and that was not the tolerance for that shot. Stones out front are not going to help St Gallen. They will have the last stone in this game, and their ideal situation is nothing at all when they come to play their last stone. An easy draw to the house, that would be their ideal. And of course Scotland, their ideal situation is exactly the reverse. It's a Scottish stone or more in behind a Great Wall of Scotland out front, a Hadrian's Wall. So yeah, St Gallen need to be careful with these tactics. And that's fine from Keith Gray. The buzzer in the background, that's the central clock. So we have an additional 5 minutes for our game, but I don't think that's going to be enough to finish this end. Yeah, this is a better idea, Burkhardt. It's a simple shootout. Unless it's a blank end, which does not currently look likely. Someone is going to win this game. Therefore, try to make your life as easy as possible by giving yourself as much space as possible. So Christine Bedchart being asked to remove that blue. Ooh, she's not quite got the angle there though. The only advantage is that is now a yellow stone out front that Scotland will not be punching forward anymore. Yeah, this looks difficult from the throwing end, doesn't it? Playing on this clockwise handle, that is not a big gap. Keith Gray's last throw before his dinner. His teammate there holding onto his wheels to make sure he doesn't slip. And his other teammate timing this stone. The time, just giving the players an overview of the ice conditions. And oh gosh, that's really curled way offline there. I wonder if that even maybe had some sort of pickup or something, because that really took off as soon as he released it. But it's found a decent spot. The tolerance for that shot was a bit short rather than long. It's no use if it's gone all the way through and out the back, but that's a shot that Scotland can punch forward. And you need to do the same again, Burkhardt. Do not leave that Scotland stone lying around, please. That's the ticket. So Christine Bedchard a bit unlucky, finding the wrong angle with her first throw. But she did remove the Scotland stone, and she will want to do the same again. And this looks on target. That's a great throw from Christine. Really nice stuff from her. That has got rid of that dangerous Scotland stone right in front of the house. Rolls away herself. Spins that guard all the way through. Really nice throw from her. So same idea for Scotland and same tolerance. Perfect, would be right in behind that yellow. Force St Gallen to maybe play a raised takeout. Force them to a more difficult shot, but if this stone drops a little bit short, like the previous stone did, you can see that St Gallen had to remove that immediately. Far too dangerous to leave it lying around. So deep breath, Austin McKenzie. This is coming in a little bit hot. Is he going to get away with it? Not quite. Just that extra weight on that stone then. I think he knew as soon as he's released it, he held a hand up to indicate it's going a bit faster than he wanted. So he did find his own stone. Takes a bit of momentum out, but yeah, a bit too heavy with that throw. And now what do you do if you're St Gallen? I'll tell you if you want, viewers. They do still have a timeout, St Gallen team. Now, nope, that is entirely the wrong idea. That is completely over-aggressive. The better shot, in my mind, would be to play a T-weight on that stone that's just out front. And you don't really want to hit it on the nose and just punch it straight back. You would rather just split it at an angle, and then you would have opened out the centre, and also you would have one, if not two more yellow stones in the house. Now, what you're doing in this case is, this is a little bit of a panicky response. Yes, that yellow is currently lying short, but it's back 8 foot, and this is a long way to hang on until the end of the conclusion of this end. I think that's Jörg just telling them that their additional 5 minutes due to the technical timeout, I think that has also now expired, so this will be our final end. Now you can see the issue here with panicking a bit and guarding your stone. If Scotland can now play a raise and punch one of those blues on the right of our screen, if they can punch one of those in behind everything, then St Gallen will be in a whole heap of trouble of their own making. It is very tempting when you are lying short. It's very tempting to throw up a guard. But this is really playing with fire. And this is a little bit maybe less experience for the St Gallen team rather than the Scotland team. I don't think you would see the Scotland team doing that. Typically they are very tactically strong, and I think they would realise the danger of doing that. So Austin McKenzie, his final throw of this game. And he can do a whole lot of damage with this stone. Oh, but he's caught the wrong side of it. It was a nice weight, wasn't it? Look where that blue landed towards the top of our screen. If that had been coming towards the bottom of our screen, you can see what a nice position that would have found. Oh, goodness, St Gallen. I just get the terrible feeling they're about to make everything worse. Well, since you have committed to this over-aggressive strategy, I would use one of those guards either side of our centre line and punch it forward just about a metre or so. I think this is a harder shot. I see what they're doing. They're trying to block Scotland from promoting either of those blues on the right of our screen. I don't think this is the right shot, though. I think your better idea, which would be easier to achieve, would be to punch forward one of your own guards. But certainly, we'll be having an exciting, aggressive finish either way. And speaking of, we have one game already finished on sheet 5. They've concluded 8 ends already, and that was a good battle between the first Switzerland team against the team from England. And finally, that was a real burst of energy from the Swiss in the second half of this game. And they finally triumph 9 points to 5 over the team from England. Now they will wait and see who they will play in the next round. Everybody's cumulative total will be added up at the end of this round. Everybody will have played 2 games and ranked on games won, ends won, points won. And then again, rank 1 will play rank 2, 3 will play 4. And we will certainly pick one of our international guests and have a nice draw for you tomorrow morning. The third round is at 10 o'clock European in the morning. We're down to skip stones then in our featured game. Still could go either way, this one. You can see how far out Austin Mackenzie is with his brush, having to move our little volunteers. The other idea would be to simply replace one of those yellows out front with your blue and try to give yourself a shot at that with your final throw. This is pretty tricky, this line out here. So can Gary Smith connect? Oh, it's just going to slip past. And St Gallen, they are really being rewarded for playing with fire here. But will they get away with it? We have a result on sheet 1 as well. And an excellent comeback from Team Poland. They won 3 ends in a row in the second half, but the Slovakian team really strong. And just holding on, scoring 1 in the final end, Slovakia. So their defence of their title continues in happy fashion. That is a win for Slovakia over Poland on sheet 1, 7 points to 3. It's also a win for Team Korea on sheet 2. Scores that they stopped only scoring 1 in the second half, and it was big scores right and left. It was finally Korea overcoming Team Albatross Trentino, also from Italy. Korea winning 10 points to 5. Oh, and I'll tell you what that means, viewer. That means that both Korea and Slovakia have won both their games so far. Will we see them tomorrow morning in the third round? And both Scotland and St Gallen, they won their first game this morning as well. But one of them is about to go to 2 wins, and one of them is about to go to 1 win and 1 loss. I don't see a blank end coming, do you? So that blue that they were going for in the previous throw, still open to them. Just as difficult as the first time. Yeah, there is more of a space now. What if you would come on the clockwise handle? Yeah, on that path that Austin Mackenzie indicated just now. Just real quick, everyone else has finished, so we have the other 2 results. That is a win for Curling Club Veticon over Team Italy. They will be delighted. Final score 8 points to 5 to them. And over on sheet 6, it is a win for the Swiss second team against Team Mogami from the US. Only 1 game left out there then. Yeah, no easy options for Scotland here with their final throw. And after this round, viewers, I will be going out and about in the club to talk to some of the teams. We have a media corner set up, so we'll be asking our teams about the competition, about their season, about what they like about coming to Switzerland. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following on the Instagram channel. That is IWCT for International Wheelchair Curling Tournament _ Vetsikon. So IWCT _ Vetsikon. There's also always the link to the live stream there as well, so share that with friends and family. Scotland then finally deciding that a draw through that narrow port, probably more likely to have success. I think I agree with that. I think trying to catch exactly the right angle on the blue on the right side, very, very difficult. Of course, this is not bad from Gary Smith. This is not bad. Is it going to? Oh, is it going to sit? Is it going to sit? Yes, it is. That is a fantastic stone. And I can hear some ruckus in the background in the club. That's a popular stone in the Scotland camp. And that, viewer, is why you do not clutter up all of your own space with your own guards when you've got last stone. This shot is certainly makeable, but it's a lot more difficult than it should be. He has one opportunity to put it right, does Burkhard Müller. So Austin Mackenzie, the vice skip of Scotland, just saying a little prayer to the curling gods. And the other three from Scotland, they have done all they can in this game. There is one man left to throw. Yeah, don't think about it too much. Final stone of our feature game is on its way. Has he found the gap? Has he found the gap? Oh, he has, by molecules. And the shooter does stick. Goodness me, what a finale. That could not have been any closer in any sense of that word. I think they're just having a look for second shot. I think there's no doubt about the winner. Here it comes, the final throw. Goodness me. That squeaked through that little gap. So definitely it's one yellow. And Scotland conceding that is in fact two yellow. No need to measure. As we said, that can be important later. So the difference between 1 point and 2 point could be important for your cumulative score further down. And yeah, disappointment for Scotland. They'll be a bit disappointed with that. They really were gaining control in the first half of that game. And yeah, just that big score of 3 in that fifth end seemed to knock their rhythm a little bit. And St Gallen, again, honestly, playing with fire a bit out there, but getting away with it for the second time today. And they will continue towards the top of the table. Finally, the score in our featured game between Team Scotland and Team St Gallen. It is the Swiss club who have won the game 8 points to 6. So that concludes our second session here at the 16th International Wheelchair Curling Tournament. Our next round is at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Saturday 12th of October, 10 o'clock European time. The next round after that is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon European tomorrow. And then we have 2 more games on Sunday as well. So we have a big feast of curling still to come here in Vetsikon. We're all going to have something to eat after that exciting game. So thank you for your company today. Do join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.